Four times the action, everybody. It's Sonic Advance, coming at you from Deep Dive Zone, the Sonic the Hedgehog review series for fans of all shapes and sizes. I'm your host, Evan, joined as always by my buddies Lauren and Bruce, and today it's Sonic Advance.
Yep.
Yeah.
That's the name of the game. One of those games where they just name it off the system they're on, so they don't have to come up with a name.
Hell, the Game Boy Advance had a lot of those.
Well, and this is
Yeah.
significant, because, we didn't mention it at the end of Adventure 2, but Dreamcast just died.
It died hard.
Yep.
So Sonic games got ports to other consoles. I guess technically Sonic Adventure 2 Battle was probably in development before Sonic Adventure 2 came out because they knew the Dreamcast was on the way out.
Probably.
But the first official Sonic game for a Nintendo console was no, it was Adventure 2 Battle, but then it was Sonic Advance, the first original game, sorry. And this is perhaps one of my most nostalgic Sonic games. I got this with my Game Boy Advance for Christmas when I was 9 years old, and I have this distinct memory of sitting in a Burger King, watching the snowfall, and playing the Tiny Chow Garden, because we got fucking snowed out that year, so we couldn't get to our grandma's house.
I don't have any equally adorable memories, unfortunately. But this probably is my most nostalgic Sonic game, being the first Sonic game that I owned. My first system was a Nintendo DS, and the advantage of that, of course, was it had any of the new DS games on it, but also had the library of Game Boy Advance games, some of which were still being sold at the time. And so I got the re-release of Advance that was comboed with Sonic Pinball Party. Oh boy, I can't wait to talk about that one too. Not in a good way. But so that was really great. I got that for Christmas one year. I was like, yes, my own Sonic game. Great.
That's my version too. I actually still have it. I sold most of my games that I ever had when the pandemic started in 2020, but I never got rid of Advance 1 because I accidentally sold it to you thinking it was Advance 3, and then I had to give up the money back. But it's sitting on my shelf. But yeah, very memories with this game. And I like this game a lot, and it starts off, it puts its best foot forward with the very jazzy intro piece. What reveals that our story is that Eggman has an emerald.
All the
Best
story
plot
we
ever.
need.
Oh no.
All the story I need.
Stop him. He has an emerald.
The music is great, and it does a nice introduction for all four characters that we now have,
Oh, heck yeah.
going up from three. And really, this game is Sonic 4 as you truly imagined it, so to speak.
Yeah, no, I
Yeah.
mean, not in name, but I would say essentially it is. I'm trying to think. I mean, we had a whole bunch of other sort of 2D games that we talked about on the handheld, but this is the one that I think really hits the same sort of beats. I'm biased, but
No, I think that's fair.
Well, I mean, it starts with, a green stage, which all of the classic games do, but it has mostly original stages, but it also adds a new playable character, and it expands on the ones that you have.
yeah, I hadn't thought about it that way. That does make sense.
It also contains... My favorite thing about the menus in this game is that they let you disable the time limit and lower the health on bosses in the options menu.
Oh, that would have been handy.
I'm sorry for your loss, Bruce. I discovered this as a kid when I got too frustrated with the game and was like, all right, I'm done. What else does this game have to offer? And I was flipping through the
Sure.
main menu, and then I'm like, oh, okay. Now I don't have to have a terrible time with the time. But yes, this is great. Actual customizable difficulty. I mean, they kind of had that in the form of characters, and this game still has that, actually, is on top of it. But it's nice
Yeah,
to
they added a
especially have
hard mode.
toggles. Yes. Indeed, they did. We'll get to that in a minute, but I think this is probably the appropriate time to talk about this game's major add-on to the main game, which is the Tiny Chow Garden.
Oh, yes.
Oh, yeah.
This is wonderful. Of course, they already experimented with this, I guess, a little bit with, like, the Chow VMU or something, but this is, like, the actual proper implementation of portable, scaled-down Chow. It's nothing amazing, certainly very stripped down. I can't believe you can't even evolve Chow. But that said, it's great. You've got all the things. You've got a cute little Chow that walks around. You can pet it. You can watch it swim around. You can feed it fruit. You can even
You
play
can
little
have
mini games.
conversations with it.
You can have conversations. I don't remember that one
It talks
before.
to you.
Some
Uh,
of the dialogue that the Chow have is absolutely insane. I should have gotten a list, but off the top of my head, I remember once my Chow was saying, "I wonder if I should conquer the world."
Amazing.
uh.
I was always weirded out when I played this game because I knew that there was the Chow in it, but I couldn't collect the animals from Badniks.
Yeah, like I said, very stripped down. But as a kid, before I had, I guess, Adventure 2, this was my Chow Garden, so I took what I could get, and honestly, it's not bad.
Yeah, and really that's the name of the game with this is that this brings a lot of the tropes of the adventure games into brilliant union with the classic style gameplay, you know. This is the first 2D games that really properly feature the modern Sonic designs.
Right.
And I think these character sprites are some of the best in the series. They animate so fluidly.
They
The
do.
animations on these characters are wonderful.
It's a damn good looking game for the GBA. Environments are
It
pretty good
really
too.
is.
Yeah, very expressive. It is hilarious when you walk just a little too far, but not quite over the edge of a ledge, and the characters start panicking. They're all a joy to watch, just
I love
like
that so
having their
much.
life flash before their eyes.
I love that so much. That's such a nice detail, and I wish more games did it. That sounds kind of weird, but
No,
I
it's good
wish
to appreciate the finer
it
things like that.
is.
I like
Yeah.
that you can actively see Sonic's face scream if you die. It's not just one expression.
Oh
He
yeah.
actually opens his mouth.
Right, yes, that is nice. He also looks absolutely shocked every time he takes damage.
And that detail goes into parts of the gameplay because, you know, it's like you have mostly classic move sets. I do
Right.
there are some differences. Like Sonic's Insta Shield maybe doesn't feel as good in this game as in 3.
Maybe it's just because I didn't use the Insta Shield very much. I kept trying to use it as a double jump for some reason.
Yeah, as a kid, I didn't even know what it did. I was like, oh, he flashed for a second. I don't know what that means. But yeah, nowadays, I don't use it a whole lot because I'm just not used to it. But yeah, I think it's definitely nerfed from like Sonic 3, but it's still useful.
I think what I would have done is maybe not had it there and instead put Sonic's air dash on that. Did you know that this game had an
Oh
air
yeah.
dash? I didn't for like the first 10 years of owning it.
It has an air dash?
Yes, you have to double tap a movement direction when jumping, and it's a little finicky.
Yeah, that's interesting. And gonna be honest, I don't think I've ever executed that once, despite how much I've played this game. I
Sonic
was
is
like, give
not
me game, don't give me weird combos. I didn't look up the
Sonic
controls.
is not the kind of game I would usually think double tapping a direction would do anything.
Well, and
Yeah,
just
that's
sometimes when
true.
you try it, it doesn't do anything.
Well, yeah, no shit.
There are a lot of minor differences. Like Knuckles, I think jumps the same height as everybody else in this game.
Hmm.
Speaking of Knuckles, as a Knuckles enthusiast myself, I must say I very much approve of the fact that you can now punch with Knuckles in a 2D game.
Yeah, everybody
Oh,
has ground attacks. Tails can do his little tail swipe. Sonic has like the somersault from Adventure 2, but you have to press it multiple times to fully use it. It's weird.
like Sonic has the somersault?
Yeah, you press the B
Yeah,
button.
it's kind
Oh,
of
I
unnecessary.
yeah, I don't think I ever hit the B button. I think I always used A.
Well, because it's like, why would you not just spin dash?
Yeah, exactly.
Not much reason, unless you don't want to fly off a ledge and there's an enemy right in front of you, I guess.
I
But it's
guess.
incredibly specific. I did at
Yeah,
least
that's
know it
extremely
existed though, because
specific.
I've hit B before. Not
Yeah.
obscure combination.
The odd man out in all of this, unfortunately, is Amy Rose, who, you know, I'm so glad to have, you know, another character in Sonic, and I'm glad that it's Amy because she's been here for a while.
Sure.
But they attempted to directly port her Adventure 1 gameplay, which is a bad idea.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. On the one hand, Amy is definitely a terrible time to play. Not at all satisfying. But on the other hand, I do enjoy that in the classic games you kind of had Sonic and Tails and Knuckles, and Sonic is like the standard, Tails is easy mode, and Knuckles, I mean, he has harder stages in like 3, but I mean, his gliding is really helpful. So I always put him as like an in-between. But now we have a definitive hard mode with Amy. So I kind of like the extra tier, and it was satisfying to finally beat the game with Amy. It is not easy.
I mean, and it's very weird because Amy's levels in SA1 are not difficult. And this is
No.
really simple, just no spin jump, no spin dash, but I think it's the fact that her hammer, is only active for a couple frames when you use it, and there are less ways to defeat enemies, and the fact that it's a 2D plane means that it's harder to just go around something if it's dangerous.
Yeah, I mean, the stages aren't too terribly bad. It's the bosses that are really going to challenge you.
And I mean, it's weird because like SRB2 is a Sonic fan game. Amy's gameplay in that is basically the same as this, and that's a 3D game, granted. She's way more fun in that. I like playing as her a lot in that game, so I don't know exactly what it is. Maybe it's the fact that you can't spin dash, which has to have you plod up hills slowly unless you're using the weird. She has like not a spin dash, but like a weird forward jump thing. It's really strange.
Yeah, the lack of spin dash makes levels annoying sometimes. She's mostly annoying to play, unfortunately, which is probably not a great state to put a new character in. I don't know. They probably could have done it a better way, but I do appreciate the optional challenge anyway.
Better days are ahead for Amy, even as early as like Sonic Heroes or Sonic Advance 2. Actually, that's next week.
Well,
Yes,
talk about
getting
that.
Amy in Advance 2 is a pain in the ass, I know. But anyway, on to the actual video game part of this video game. Let's talk about the stages. Starting off with Neo Green Hill Zone. Could you guys have thought of maybe a better title than that?
The zone names in this game are pretty basic
They're
for the
basic
most
enough. I
part.
don't remember most of them.
But yeah, it pretty much is just Green Hill Zone, so they might as well have called it as such.
See, you say that, but it's like it has a different feel because part of it is it's more a beach stage for a lot of it, but it's
Some of
also
it.
that it has, like paved roads and like grind rails that only Sonic and Amy can use, and there's only like 5 of them across the whole game, and it's really weird. And the forested areas are much more like they're much less tropical, even though it still has palm trees, but it has like deciduous trees in there as well.
It's not identical to Green Hill Zone. I'm just saying it's similar. No, you're right. It has a number of differences. I always forget that there are paved roads in the middle of it. I thought that there was like someone built a road through the wilderness or something. Then again, the beach area has like actual wooden rafters or whatever as well. So
Yeah,
I don't
like
know.
boardwalks. It
Um,
gives a lot of good feeling, because we're all up here in the Pacific Northwest, and if you've ever taken a family trip to the beach out here, you don't have palm trees, you have
Right.
evergreens as you go
Yeah.
along the coastal roads. Maybe that's part of the nostalgia, especially since this was a game you would play on car trips.
mhm.
Oh yeah, that's a good point.
But it's just it's pleasant. There's crab meats and buzz bombers and rhino tanks. It's pretty standard first level stuff.
Yeah, I have to shout out music, which I'm probably going to be doing for much of these zones, but it's just very chill. It's like you're relaxing on the beach. It fits quite well, I would say.
Yeah. The boss here is our second of the egg hammers after Pocket Adventure. All this one's an actual different boss and is not just like the drill tank again.
Ah, yes, the memories. So I like, first of all, that shortly before the boss, Eggman shows up just to laugh at you for a second and then flies off screen.
In his
The,
very
the me-
tiny Eggmobile.
Yep. Really, he's starting to have to cut corners to make bigger mechs, I guess. Probably because I have to imagine every time he escapes in one, it's probably not in good shape. So he probably has like a billion Eggmobiles. But yeah, that is amusing. This boss, though, I think it's a pretty good first fight. It's decently challenging, I think, at first, but not really that bad.
Yeah, no, I mean, you can spin dash, you can jump, you can tank a damage, and it's quick enough that it's not too big a deal.
Right.
What I like about this boss, which will be continued into most bosses in the game, is that the more you hit it, the faster the hammer swings, and it just becomes more and more frantic until on the final hit, he starts doing crazy flips with the hammer. It's like, what is going
He
on?
like pole vaults with it. It's great. I do like the idea of Sonic bosses having a pinch mode, and we'll see that continued further and further in these 2D games by Dimps.
I enjoy, and this is done in every stage as well. After you defeat the boss, the capsule just falls super heavily from the sky, and if your character's there, you'll take like fake damage. It's hilarious.
Yeah, they didn't have to do that, but it's a good little detail. I don't know where the capsule comes from. I guess it's just inside the Eggmobile.
I assume maybe that mobile's being powered by one.
I guess it's just that it's huge.
I mean, yeah. I don't know.
I never really questioned it, to be honest.
So, besides the funkiest music in the game, our second zone, Secret Base, is pretty cool. Has some pulleys, steam caps. It's nice.
I like the intro to this stage. How you zip line down to Eggman's base as there are searchlights moving across the screen. It actually feels like you're Sonic running into Eggman's base.
When it that combined with the music, it does feel like you're like a secret agent.
Yes, and I love that music. So jazzy. Might be my favorite in the game.
It has like an actual saxophone solo in it at one point.
I'll admit the aesthetic is not anything crazy new, but I mean, it's still got that quality factory feel and all those gimmicks with pulleys and swinging chains, conveyors, and lava, because of course there are lava in factories, right? That's a thing.
It does bring one thing that I don't like about some of the stages in this game, which is teeny tiny platforms that bounce you. It's not a big deal in this stage, but it will become one.
One of the things that defines the stage for me are those darn drill enemies that will pop up right in front of you and stop you in your tracks.
Oh god, yes, those are so annoying.
Don't like those guys.
It's so blatantly cheap that honestly, I don't even get mad every time it happens. I just laugh because I'm like, somebody put this there. They knew exactly what they were doing.
Yeah, Dimps gains an affinity for slamming doors in your face over the course of their run. I like the I mean this stage has zoom tubes, but it also has these hooks that you jump on, and it's got these like trampolines. It's very very gimmick heavy, this stage.
Yeah, like I said, it feels like you're running through a factory, so perfect.
It does, yeah.
I will say one knock against this game is that it doesn't have the diversity in shields that Sonic 3 did. It has a normal shield, and it has a lightning shield, but you can't actually use the lightning effect, it just sucks rings in, and that's it.
The adventure games are the same way, so they were just following from adventure, first of all. And second of all, be honest, did you ever think that the flame shield was very useful? No, it's only useful when there's
Yeah,
fire and otherwise
yeah,
pretty pointless. And I am
yeah.
glad that the water shield doesn't need to be here because there's only one zone with water.
Yeah, but I definitely could have used a water shield for that one. Um,
Well,
Actually, I think does Neo Green Hill have a little bit of water in it, but it's like not that much, or am I
I
thinking of
don't
a
believe
different?
so.
I don't think it
You're thinking
does.
of regular advanced games.
Oh, I'm thinking of two, aren't I? All right.
Yeah,
So the boss of this stage is the egg pogo stick. I don't know if that's what it's called, but that's what it
might as
is.
well be. It's funny going from giant hammer to just I'm bouncing around. I mean, it's fairly effective as a boss, though, even
I mean,
surprisingly.
sure.
You know, it's nothing super flashy. It's like I'm gonna bounce on your head, and yeah, he do that.
Well, and in his
He
pinch
can do
mode,
that.
he bounces off the screen and tries to hit you from above.
Yes, it's great.
That sense of escalation does make the final hit on the boss feel sort of tense.
Because when I was a kid and awful at this game, so much of the time I would have no rings on the final hit. So it's like, oh god, it was so frantic.
I
Yeah.
get that feeling.
And when this game has it doesn't have a 4:3 aspect ratio because the Game Boy Advance's screen is a little different. So it's like
No, it's 3x2, I think.
it's harder to lose rings off screen than in the classic games that were 4:3, but easier than in like the modern games that have 16:9 ratios.
Right.
I would not say in general, I would say that screen crunch is not too big an issue in this game, which is good. I'd still
Yeah, I
like
don't think so.
wider aspects re-releases, but it's playable.
Like we were saying earlier, I thought that I was only caught off guard running into something when that was totally the intention.
Yeah, when they were sticking their middle finger in your face. And speaking of which, you guys want to get bounced around in Casino Paradise? Because you get bounced around a lot in that stage.
God.
Yeah, I guess you do.
Yeah.
I've never really had a problem with it.
I
I like to
remember
see that.
having problems with it.
I think like okay, it has bumpers. It's the clown badniks that stand the balls that give me trouble.
Uh,
Okay, I
yeah.
like these little guys. Well, first of all, they're just funny. I mean, they got a ball instead of legs, and they don't even attack. It just looks like they're having a good time juggling around, and you just happen to run into them.
I
Also, they're one of the distinctly unique things. I feel like this is like literally just Casino Night Zone.
Well, so the weird thing is that it is called Casino Paradise. I don't think it has any actual casino mechanics in the stage.
It's just the casino aesthetic.
Yeah, it's the aesthetic. But you're right, there are no slot machines.
Yeah, there aren't any slot machines.
I guess there's
Which
pinball flippers, but
honestly, I didn't notice that. Well, is pinball
that's the
casino?
thing. Is
It's
pinball really a
arcade.
gambler's game? I don't think it
I
is.
don't know. It's. I don't think so.
I do know that that was one of the things. I'm trying to remember who it was. If it was Yasuhara or somebody who worked on Sonic 2, the original version of Casino Night Zone in that game didn't actually look that much like a casino, and one of the devs actually went to a casino because none of the others actually had been there to figure out how it should look.
That's funny. There are technically unique gimmicks to this, but like they're not important. They're like simple teleports and dishes that you spin into and then drop down. It's just a visual change mostly.
I like the big Disney castle in the background. I wish we could explore that place.
An
Maybe that's where Toy Kingdom in Advance 3 is. I don't know.
interesting idea.
You know,
Uh,
technically, this stage does also have the Carnival Night Zone barrels in a couple places, but they're not really a problem.
well, you can't even use them in the same way, I don't think. I think I tried that. It didn't work.
No, they just kind of sit there and you can bounce off them. So it's an okay stage. The boss, on the other hand, fucking destroys me.
Can one of you explain why this boss felt familiar?
Familiar?
No,
Yeah.
I can't.
Okay, damn it. I was hoping someone might know because I can't figure out why.
Feels familiar to me because of the many, many times it took me to beat it originally.
Fair
This
enough.
this boss is it's crazy. It's like a deadly game of cups and balls. It
Ooh,
gets more and
yeah.
more deadly as they just start moving faster and faster. This is very blatantly like Eggman is just messing with Sonic. He's not trying to kill him. He's just messing with him because why would he fly around in there? There's no reason to other than just to screw around with him. But I'm all for it.
Well, and I really want to know how the game decides whether it's sending you Eggman or a Death Ball, because I think it depends on your position, but it's also randomized. It's really weird. But yeah, when it gets going at maximum speed, it's like
Oh
it's
god,
hectic.
yeah.
And it's not exactly hard. It's just really like nerve-wracking.
No, yeah, I think it's tricky, but I wouldn't say it's overly a big ask, and I don't think it's I don't know. Ask you to react that quickly, maybe that is a little unfair. Hard to say.
Yeah.
I don't know if unfair is the word I'd use. It's like
Well, I think it fits the stage because, like I was saying, it's just like, oh, what's gonna happen? Will you win or will you die?
yeah, yeah.
Roll the dice.
It's not my least favorite boss in the game. On a completely
Oh,
unrelated
oh,
note,
oh.
our next stage is Ice Mountain, which is an ice stage and a water stage with a couple tight jumps and the occasional bullshit enemy placement.
I do like that sometimes in this game. I think it's like a law that all winter stages have to have pretty music to match the pretty aesthetic because, oh boy, I love Ice Mountain's music.
Yeah, and this is a another case of like it's a mountain, but it's got the sort of different feel that's more like, wintry forest, which I like.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
the look is great. I love the snow-covered trees, and I love the ice crystals in the foreground that actually shine.
Well, and it's actually got like snowfall, which I don't think the previous ice levels have actually had the snow coming down, and it's got, snowy areas that you have to kind of trudge through.
Right, right.
Oh yeah.
Which might not feel the best because it brings you to a halt, but thematically, that makes a lot of sense.
Yeah. I don't love the water sections, but I do like the way that. So I don't know if this. I guess this stage is an active volcano, maybe because it's got these underwater mini superheated rocks that blast the ice platforms out of the water like a volcano would.
Yeah, I always thought that was a weird choice, but it's memorable because of how strange it is. Yeah, having lava under ice water that makes for, quite frankly, not fun platforming. The timing
Uh,
is very precise for how slow you are underwater. And if you accidentally fall under one of those things, oh, well, I guess you're just gonna get crushed and die.
Yes, this is maybe our first sign of Dimp's love for crushing Sonic. That's going to be a running theme on these portable games.
Oh boy.
I think I've talked about it before, but one-hit deaths in the classic games, no, just no.
Well, and I think the same goes for like water, where it's like I could deal with the sluggish physics, or I could deal with needing to grab air bubbles. Having to deal with both makes this stage kind of a pain.
Yeah, honestly, when you're above the water, mm, on point. When you're under the water, no, it's a horrible stage.
Yeah, especially since they put some bottomless pits in there as well.
Oh yeah, I
God.
didn't even mention that. Sometimes when you're trying to do that platforming over the lava bursting platforms, what do you want to call those? Yeah, sometimes they just put bottomless pits there because, of course, why not? Two
Because
ways
fuck
to
you,
die
that's why.
instantly.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know when the logical point is to talk about specifically the Act 2 music, which is interesting because the Act 1 version is like, chill and like you're just in the wintry woods. But then the Act 2 one is actually like fast paced and it's like, oh, now it's a Sonic Zone theme that fits. Now I'm ready to run, which is nice.
Well, and it's interesting
Mm.
because, sometimes it feels like it flip flops in this game whether the Act 2 music is more amped or more chill.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Because, like in Neo Green Hill, Act 2 is much more chill feeling. Which is weird because I think it's actually, like, faster tempo. But, yeah, no, love the music. But. And that's why, even if the stage has some designs that make me a little annoyed, I would play that 100 times over having to do the boss fight.
This
Oh
boss should
boy.
be buried in the deepest snowdrift, frozen solid, and cast into the Arctic Ocean.
This
Yeah,
fucking thing.
Shall live on forever in my memory as one of the worst Sonic bosses I have ever fought.
I
It
can agree with
is
that.
it is fucking rough. You have to jump off the icicles it knocks down to hit to jump up and hit it, but you also have to do that just to get a breath of air, which you may get when you hit him or may not get, and you may hit him when you're trying to get a breath of air and then drown because there's no air bubbles and you can get stun locked easily and you have to deal with water physics the whole time. It sucks. That's the end and long and short of it.
Really, the threat of this boss is just trying not to drown. The boss certainly doesn't help, but yeah, the whole time I'm just trying not to die. And occasionally I'm like, okay, maybe I can hit the boss now. But it's just a battle of barely not drowning constantly until eventually you can hit the boss enough times. And yeah, being slowed underwater
This
really
is
not helpful here.
this is your incentive to play as
Yeah.
Tails. But yeah, bad boss. Just give me air or don't give me water. Don't do that shit.
Yeah.
Yeah,
But we're done with it. We're done with it. We're moving on to the fifth stage, which is Angel Island? Question mark.
surprise Angel Island reference.
Yeah.
Well, it's that it doesn't really feel like Angel Island because these are like gray silver stone ruins with very sort of yellow. Almost, it looks like almost hay fields in the back. Those do not say Angel Island to me.
Have you been to Angel Island? It has all sorts of
Yeah,
locations on it.
it's massive.
I know it's a continent. It's just this isn't similar to any other part that we've seen referred to as Angel Island before. Because, like, if you say Angel Island, my mind does not immediately go to, like, Red Mountain, you know?
I mean, yeah, I guess if you because they named it just after the whole place it's on, but I mean, I believed it was Angel Island. It has a lot of elements reminiscent of Angel Island Zone from Sonic 3. It
Feels
has
close enough.
rolling boulders and it has torches inside of cave background. It feels right out of Sonic 3. There also are, I can't tell if the spinning dishes are supposed to look like snakes' heads or I'm just seeing it that way.
Yeah, I think they probably are,
But,
maybe.
that reminded me. And it's obviously high in the sky. They do a really great job of making sure you remember that.
Yes, this stage is where the game really starts to throw you into do or die scenarios with springs, spikes, and pits.
Oh god.
And there's a lot of sticky platforming in general, because the rolling ball things that you run on to make them go up, it feels a little bad in some points.
It's a little strange how you kind of just, latch onto them almost magnetically. But honestly, I find it super satisfying for some reason to jump between those. Maybe it's because there isn't really a danger of just overshooting and falling off.
Well, and at least on those are usually not placed above pits, but yeah.
Right, yeah.
I,
Um,
I do hate when the game just throws you for a loop and is like, here's a spring. Oh, think fast, here's a pit.
yep,
Yeah.
it's the bottomless pit stage. That's the gimmick of the stage.
Ooh, my favorite level gimmick.
Yeah.
My favorite episode of Gravity Falls.
But it's still got a good theme to it. I do like the mossy stone aesthetic, and I think I probably prefer it over being stuck underwater.
Oh, definitely. I don't like the
Mm,
water enough that it's like this. You know, Act Two is it has more of those bouncing platforms that I was telling you about. A whole cloud of them above a bottomless pit.
right.
Oh boy, the beginning of Act Two is burned into my brain because of how many times I had to replay it as a kid because it gave me a lot of trouble.
But I would take that over having to do the water again.
Yeah.
The boss of this stage is pretty neat, though. It's
Oh,
Knuckles.
yes.
This is a pretty cool fight.
I love this fight. Yes, Knuckles suddenly. The reactions that each character has at seeing Knuckles is great. Most of all, of course, when Knuckles sees Knuckles.
Yeah, he's like, "What the hell is going on?" And it's great because Knuckles, we're each doing, you know, air quotes each time we say Knuckles here, but
Mhm.
Knuckles fights just like Sonic 3 Hidden Palace Knuckles to start with. And so if you've got muscle
Yeah.
memory from that, you can grind through them pretty quick.
Yeah, that's I think an appropriate reuse because it feels more like a callback and not just the whole point. Since that's only half the fight.
Yes. Phase 2 is he explodes for a little bit and I guess his skin melts off like the Terminator maybe. But Phase 2 reveals that it's Mecha Knuckles, which that's the first time we've seen this particular robot.
Oh yeah. So again, disclaimer: I'm 100% biased, but talk about Metal Sonic all you want. Nah. Mecha Knuckles will always be my favorite metal character design. The metallic gray coloration and those pulsing orange eyes are just so sick.
Yeah, no, I like him too, and he's got like extendo arms as well, which I think is cool. And his whole gimmick is that, you know, his phase 2, he shoots missiles out of his mouth to kill you.
That is hilarious. Yes, I will always love that. Also, exclusive boss theme too, which is really rad. Sounds
Oh,
so
I didn't even notice
desperate and
that.
climactic.
It's really random for how little effect this character actually has on like the game as a whole. It's like it almost feels like this would be something the game is about, but no. So kudos to you, Mecha Knuckles. See you in 19 years.
Yes, sadly.
I'm kind of impressed to hear that he even comes back in the first place.
But the rest of the game is well, this is kind of the last stage. It's weird because the last two stages have different names, even though they're basically Act 1 and 2.
Yeah.
But we're beginning here with Egg Rocket Zone, also known as We're Trolling the Player.
Oh, I hated this zone.
I don't blame you at all. It is
It's
funny. Let's start with the positives, I suppose. The music is so chill. It's very fitting for that beautiful orange sunset you see at the start of the stage.
and it's a great idea for a stage, racing to climb a rocket as pieces break off of it incrementally. This is Bottomless Pits the level.
Yes, it is. Also, I ran into a lot of dead ends and wrong turns. That might have just been because I have a goldfish memory, though.
No, it is labyrinthine,
Yeah.
and it's easy to get blindsided by enemies or spikes very often.
Ugh,
They brought
yeah.
back the drill enemies for some reason. Actually, I know the reason. Just to troll
Mm-mm-mm.
you harder.
Yeah,
It's
and
just
and
weird.
and this is what I'm talking about the do or die ones, because there's so many points where you'll hit a speed booster in this, and then there'll be a pit that's like, you know, you're on the bottom of the screen, and the pit is just below you, and then like, oh, here's a moving spring platform you have to land on.
There's a part of this stage where there's literally a spring booster that just springs you off the side. Like,
Yeah, yeah, that too.
great. Yeah. Really appreciate that piece of level design.
There's springs that send you into spikes if you don't hold a direction.
That's a classic thing. They've done that before. But speed boosters that just are meant to troll you, that's a new one.
Yeah. So yeah, hilariously annoying level design. Not a fan, even if I love the aesthetic and the music.
This zone took me eons to complete as a kid. It was an achievement to just reach each successive part of the rocket, which it really felt like a trek. And this is a long stage. Like, what the
Yeah.
heck?
Yes, this is a very long stage.
Um, but I will say, when you do make it up to the highest section, and the rocket lifts off and you can finally see it is in space through the windows. That is like a cool reward for making it that far.
Great
Yeah,
atmosphere in this. You know,
that is cool.
I saw a couple weeks ago at this point that Main Memory, who is a very prolific Sonic hacker and modder, she released tools for all three advanced games for some
Hmm.
editing. So, you know, you might
Hmm.
be able to cajole something better about this stage if you ROM hack it.
Yeah, but that's a lot of
Hmm.
work.
But when I said you, I didn't mean you specifically.
I am insulted, Devin.
All right, fine. Main character of the universe. You can introduce us to Cosmic Angel. Go ahead.
Nah, it's okay. You can do it.
You bitch.
Cosmic Angel Zone, Act 2 of 1. This is a rad as hell stage. It's got awesome music, the sick psychedelic aesthetic, techno-themed gimmicks. This is just, I love this stage. It's my kind of stage.
Where are we?
We're in the Cosmic Angel Zone, obviously.
Well, it's like we took a rocket up here and then we jumped through a tube at the top of the rocket at the end of Egg Rocket. So I guess we're at the upper part of the rocket because this isn't Eggman's newest space platform. That's the final stage.
Are you sure? Because I always thought that the rocket attached onto a space station.
Yeah, I feel like it
Okay,
is.
maybe. You might be right. I'm not sure. I will say this is a level. The background of this stage goes into my compendium of Game Boy Advance stage backgrounds that are like slightly crushed by the limited palette, but that I find really aesthetically pleasing. Kirby and the Amazing Mirror is full of that shit.
Yes, yes. Do they do this in the other stages? Because I only noticed it here, that as you move across the stage, the background slowly scrolls.
Yeah, I don't think they do. It's really trippy looking. And actually it reminds me of a different Kirby bit, which is it reminds me of the fucking like Nova reactor core from Superstar.
That is.
Oh my gosh.
Huh. That is an interesting comparison.
Yeah,
I think it's just the circular layout and the fact that it's in space, but
that makes sense. I don't know if it's just because it's a huge relief after Egg Rocket, but this stage just feels good. Like, for a final act of the game, it's surprisingly non-frustrating. It's not easy, but I don't think it's nail-biting, grinding, annoying at all.
Mhm.
it throws a lot of enemies and spikes at you, but it doesn't have too many pits and crushing, I think. At least I don't remember being crushed or thrown in a pit that much.
The closest thing to annoyance in this game is when the anti-gravity malfunctions and decides to just kill you. That doesn't happen too often, though.
No, I think for being only one act and not the longest act, it's still a little long, but not nearly as much as the previous one. The gravity doesn't stick around long enough to become a huge problem. Lest we, have to talk about fucking Crazy Gadget again.
There are really weird diamond-shaped silver badniks in this zone that always stick on in my mind because they're just weird. They don't match up with standard Eggman badniks. I don't know. I just had to mention them because I always thought they were odd.
Evangelion Ramiel looking motherfuckers, because are they
Right.
octahedrons?
I don't think so. I don't know.
Okay, well, close enough. It's geometry.
Yes, geometric shapes.
Yeah. The thing that does frustrate me about this level is, as expected, the boss fight.
I mean, it's not easy.
The boss frustrated me also.
The problem with this boss is you have to flip him over by hitting the wire he's on.
Yeah.
Close to him. He flips back over when you damage him, which makes it easy to bounce off him, and then he'll flip over and you'll bounce onto his spiked bottom. But it's also that your rings will fall through the wire that you're standing on.
Yes.
Yeah, that bit is definitely
Mhm.
not great. That's not really the fault of the boss, though.
Not
the arena,
really.
yeah.
I think that it is an interesting boss fight. I mean, first of all, they decided to just make another exclusive boss theme for it, which is really beautiful. Big fan.
Well, and it's a remix. It's a remix of the Egg Rocket theme, I think.
Sounds about right.
Mhm.
And I like that the boss fight almost has a slow pace to it. You kind of have to be careful here so you don't lose your rings. And how slow the projectiles move, it's almost like a bullet hell, but with way less bullets. The way you have to weave through them.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't like the erratic motion after the first couple hits where you'll hit him, and then he'll go really fast for a second and then stop.
Yeah, he does that after you hit him, but he doesn't do that all the time, at
It
least.
feels hard to predict.
True. I don't know. I thought it was a good way to end sort of the standard boss fights.
Yeah, I mean, every advanced game has this to some degree, where the final stages boss fight is like more difficult than like a lot of the final bosses.
Well, I'll see how I agree with you when we get there.
Okay, it's like that's true about Advanced 3. It's been long enough since I played Advanced 2. I don't know about that, but
It is not true at all, and I will defend that.
okay. Yeah, so final stage pretty all right. But then we move on to the final zone, which is called X Zone for some reason.
Because X is
Cool.
cool.
Yeah.
Yes.
We never got Sonic Extreme, so this is how we make up for it.
Exactly.
It's our second miscellaneous space platform. And this one, it's like, oh, you go through it and you're thinking, oh, am I going to get a boss rush? And you kind of do, but you for some reason get a boss rush against the Wrecking Ball and the Drill Tank for some reason.
Because creativity had run dry at this point.
They could have just put the final boss right here. I
Yeah,
don't know why
really
they put
could've.
these two here. It's
Because
like
they're the first bosses, they're pushovers.
well, on the one hand,
Yeah.
it's like, oh, interesting callback, but I don't. Yeah, why would he be like, okay, Sonic's made it to the space platform. I gotta stop him. I know. Let's bring out two of my weakest creations. I just
And
have
they
them
have
lying
less
around.
health.
Yeah, and they have less health even.
It's like if we were calling back the classic games, which I mean they are, but if we were doing it as like a succession thing, because if they had the Wrecking Ball, and then the Drill Tank, and then the fucking bumper thing from Sonic CD, and then the Flame Shooter from 3, then it would be like, oh, we're ramping up as we're going through the ages because this is the next classic
Right.
Sonic game, so to speak. But it's not that. It's just the Wrecking Ball and the Drill Tank, and they die really fast.
Yeah, I don't know. It's weird. Honestly, I prefer it over a proper boss rush.
Yeah.
Which
No, a proper boss rush would be kind of a pain because it would be long, but
yes.
Right.
So if this is how they had to do it, fine. And also, I will say, it gave us a remix of the Sonic 1 boss theme, which is absolutely god tier.
yeah, actually, this game
Yeah.
got partially in trouble for that because this game has the Sonic 1 and 2 boss themes, and it has the Sonic 1 invincibility theme. But all of those belong to Masato Nakamura. They're not Sega's, so they shouldn't have been in here. So newer releases of this game cut those out.
Okay, well, this is a good time to mention. For some reason, they decided, what would make a good piece of music for the options menu? I know, Scrap Brain Zone. Such a weird choice. Most intense options theme I've ever heard.
I think the Time Attack uses Starlight Zone as well.
But I'm very grateful
Oh.
for it because that was my first exposure to Scrap Brain. Rockin'.
Yeah. Anyway, the final boss is a slot machine, kind of. It rotates.
This is
Hmm.
this is a puzzling final boss. So
It
first of
is.
all, the music is way too intense for this. It's telling me it's the end of the world, and I have to stop Eggman at all costs. But
This-
he's just playing roulette.
Yeah, this fucking Tim Follin ass boss track is so intense, even though it's like, what does this thing have? It has a laser, a bouncing bomb, a grabbing hand, and it can ram you, and that's it.
That is really underwhelming for a final boss.
I have
Well,
already
I
become
know.
accustomed to it, so I can't really say how difficult it would be on first attempt because I was a young child, and so of course it took me eons to beat the final boss. I think it's decent, probably, despite the simplicity, but not fitting for a final boss.
Well, and I definitely
Yeah.
say it's easier than Cosmic Angels in either case.
Yeah, that makes sense.
The spot of difficulty is that you can only really damage it while it's attacking, and it spends a lot of time rotating, and you're not quite certain when it's gonna pull the thing down so you can hit it.
Yeah, it's the timing. I don't know why they did the whole uncertain certain gambling boss style again. They already did that.
What is this? Shadow the Hedgehog? Yeah,
Oh,
it's yeah. We'll get to the Egg Dealer. That's an even dumber boss, but it's really
Okay.
not that big a deal as long as you hold on to your rings and you don't drop your rings don't disintegrate like they do in the other one, which is what made that hard. So
true. And man, very nice of them to have put a checkpoint before the final battle too. I sure hope they remember to keep using checkpoints in their boss rushes in these games.
Mm.
anyway, that boss goes down relatively comfortably, and this game continues the pocket adventure trend of requiring all the emeralds for a true final boss, but you can't use supersonic in normal stages.
That
And
is so lame. Like, you're really gonna make me go through all these special stages, which these are really just exactly what you would expect of special stages.
I
Completely different gameplay from the regular game that you have to figure out, confusing, annoying, really hard to do over and over and over. Just a chore in all aspects.
getting the emeralds is a pain in the ass in this game because you can only get one per zone. You can't gather them all in Emerald Hill like Sonic 2. And you have to find exactly one hidden spring in a level to access it, which is not easy, and I know that you for years thought that Ice Mountain didn't have one.
Yeah, for real.
And the stage itself is this sky tunnel where the perspective makes it really annoying to get rings. Because it's pseudo 3D and not real 3D.
Good thing I didn't play it.
Yeah, I don't recommend it. When I was a younger kid, I was like, I don't even know how to do these. Like, I couldn't do them. Impossible. And I came back to them years later and was like, all right, it's time to take my favorite game and just destroy it completely by playing these horrible special stages. And oh man, yeah, it's not fun at all. Don't do it. It's not worth it for just a boss fight. Like, give me proper supersonic, please.
I did it, but here's something else fun. You don't even get to see the cutscene between the final boss and the supersonic boss unless you get all of the rings within one playthrough, which I didn't do, so mine is edited with save states on the video here. And I just gave Bruce a save file for the true final boss, because don't bother.
That I didn't use.
Are you fucking Bruce?
I forgot to.
Well, that's okay. It's really nothing super fabulous anyway.
I've
You're not
seen it
missing much.
before. I know I'm not missing much.
We have here Moon Zone.
Boon.
Yeah, after defeating Roulette Bot, Sonic decided, I'm gonna fly to the moon. And then Eggman was there too.
Yeah, I don't know what is supposed to be. Is Eggman. Because, like, in Sonic 3, Doomsday Zone, Eggman is running away with the Master Emerald. That's why he chases him into space. What is he doing here?
They just wanted a cool place to fight.
Is that what Eggman has in the intro? Is that the Master Emerald?
I think
Size down.
Yeah.
I mean, we
Maybe.
just got done with Adventure 2. That
No, I think they didn't think about it really, and they're just like, no, Eggman just has a big old machine on the moon, but Sonic has to fly there to fight it.
This is, I would say, one of the harder Doomsday Zone style fights.
Yeah, so we finally have a worthy final boss, I think. The even more desperate music actually fits a good old-fashioned giant robot battle in space.
Space.
There's a weird, like, warning sign that shows up at the start. I don't know. Is it supposed to, like, make it clear that you're losing rings? Because people might not be familiar with that. I don't know, but...
I hate that you lose rings in the intro when you can't move before you're even fighting the boss as well.
Oh, that's bullshit.
Yeah, and on top of that, you don't collect rings that are just in the stage like most supersonic battles. No, for a while I didn't even understand that you could get rings until there's this one particular projectile the boss fires that if you destroy it, sometimes it will produce rings.
A fucking pittance of rings, a paltry amount. You get maybe 5? And these are capsules that trap you if you touch them without dashing into them.
Exactly.
Oh,
so you don't want to be messing with them anyway. The first time I fought this boss, I just straight up beat it on one amount of rings.
Jesus.
It took me a little bit, because I did not realize that. But
That would require some fucking wizardry of movement, because this thing has projectiles all over the place, because you can get hit by asteroids or by lasers or by its arms.
yeah, this fight is just a mess, I think.
The hitbox for the head is so small as well.
Yeah, it's just a flip of the coin every time I try to go after the head. Sometimes I'll just go slightly off and the game will be like, no, I don't think you did hit the head. And then you just bounced off of it. And I'm like, okay, thanks, game. And sometimes you actually do hit it. So, yeah, I don't know what it is.
Yeah. So
I
Bruce,
will
I don't actually blame you for not playing this, because it's... Ugh.
Every time I don't do the true final boss, I'm just vindicated in not doing it.
No, it's fine. As I was saying, coming back to this game years later and collecting all the Chaos Emeralds was terrible. But when I got to this fight, despite the fact that it was kind of annoying, having new content in Sonic Advance, so I can't lie, it actually was pretty awesome. So maybe locking this away was an interesting way of saving something for later. Probably still could have been done way better, but
Well, all that being said, I do like both the normal and supersonic endings to this game, because no matter who you beat this game with, they give you some really rad pixel art of whichever character you do it with. And it's like, the GBA, it's technically a 16-bit console, but that's stuff like that shows the differences between it and, like, the Genesis are night and day. The detail
GBA
is
is
so
a
good.
32-bit console, just FYI.
It is?
Yes, it is a 32-bit CPU.
Wow. I guess that explains how they're able to do true 3D for some games, even though they
Yes.
tend to not be that good.
No, they're not good, but it is capable of true 3D because it is.
Cool.
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
Science.
But that is Sonic Advance. It is mostly pretty okay, pretty good.
Yeah, it's pretty solid overall.
well, I'm extremely biased. So I'm glad to hear that from the two of you. Yes, it is peak 2D Sonic.
I think the difficulty curve is a little weird. I would still recommend 2 and 3 over this, but it is a perfectly solid Sonic game.
Oh, I would not recommend 2 over this game.
Well, you're wrong.
No, you are. We'll get there though, I suppose.
Oh, sorry. When I say 2 or 3, I mean Sonic 2 and 3, not
Oh,
Advance 2
I
and
thought
3.
you were saying Advanced 2 or 3.
I was gonna say I can't comment because I've only played part of 2.
Okay, yes, I would recommend Sonic the Hedgehog 3 and maybe 2 over this.
I would recommend 2 over this, but not like super heavily over it. Like be like you should play 2 and then play Advance.
Yeah, they're both good.
Yeah, they're both good.
I think this game had a lot to prove, and I'm glad that this did not scare developers off from making Amy playable and stuff, even if I don't like her in this. And I'm really glad to see now that, we have much better new gameplay for Amy in, like, Origins Plus and such. I really wish that all of these Game Boy Advance, DS, 3DS Sonic games had modern ports. They're all still stuck on these portable consoles. And since Advance is so popularly considered the real Sonic 4, I wish
Rightly
people
so.
could get a chance to play it. Make a collection on PC. I don't know what's stopping
I'm
you.
honestly surprised that hasn't happened yet. Maybe if Origins Plus is well received, is it out? I don't remember.
It will be by the time this episode comes.
Okay. If it's well received, maybe ports of Advance will happen of the Advance trilogy. I wonder if Sega doesn't realize how popular the Advance games are.
I
Maybe
mean,
because
they
they've
won't-
never re-released them.
Well, yeah.
Sega works in mysterious ways. Remember, you have
That's
to
true.
buy a fucking Yakuza spin-off to play Sonic the Fighters on PC.
You're
So-
damn right I'm going to.
Yeah, that's another problem, but yes.
Or Sega could just release it for like $15 on Steam. I'd buy that too.
Or they could have put the remaining classic games in Origins Plus and made it some kind of classic collection. Anyway,
Yeah, but I wouldn't buy
enough
Origins
shitting
Plus.
on Sega.
I wouldn't
This
buy
is-
Origins Plus just for fighters.
This is one of their successful efforts, and
Yes.
yeah. And next time on Deep Dive Zone, we are heading right into the next one with a faster, harder, everythinger Sonic Advance game with Sonic Advance 2, the next one. And maybe we'll record something for Pinball Party in the meantime.
Maybe.
But with all that said, we are done for tonight. If you enjoyed this episode, feel free to share, comment, like, and subscribe if you enjoyed, which I already said. If you have any questions, comments, criticism, or feedback, you can find us at any of the socials listed on the page here. And that being said, we hope you have a great night. We'll see you next week, and take care.